But joining me now is the host of the water cooler, the man, the myth, the legend, David Brody. He's right here. He interviewed an election fraud whistleblower yesterday. It was a great interview, and we want to play a short clip from that interview now. Take a quick listen here.
Clearly, your story has been told everywhere, but the mainstream media is ignoring it, by the way.
Oh, I know. And it's a shame on them, you know. A shame on them that I mean, hey, I can only speculate, but maybe take your hand out on some people's pockets, you know. What I'll say, though, is I know there's other people like me out there, and I know there are. Come forward. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Don't be intimidated. And I'm going to tell everyone, do the right thing.
And your 10-second message to President Trump, who's fighting this type of stuff?
My 10-second message would be, hey, I'm here for you, brother. I'm here for you, man. Just try and do the right thing, man. Just try and do the right thing.
Jesse Morgan, thanks for speaking out. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. We're back in a moment with more show.
Well, David is right here. So, David, look, you had a chance to sit down right in person with one of the whistleblowers. His message seemed pretty simple, which is that he's just trying to do the right thing. And yet, the mainstream media is ignoring not just his testimony, but a lot of testimony from whistleblowers around the country. What do you make of this?
And as a matter of fact, Eric, he's got about 4 or 5 million views online of what he's been saying. And he had a press conference with Phil Klein and some other folks with the Amistad Project. And so, look, it's getting viral traction, but, you know, good luck trying to find it on CNN, MSNBC. Fox News did cover it.
Right.
So he's frustrated, and I think there's a lot of folks in the conservative orbit that are frustrated. What I think is interesting about his story is that we're finally having an affidavit, if you will, come to life, if you will. You know, we've heard all about these affidavits being signed here and under, you know, penalty of perjury. Great.
Yeah.
But to actually have someone come on camera to actually speak about what they saw in a whistleblower, more punch in that for sure.
Yeah, and I thought it was powerful too. You saw Jesse Jacob come forward in Michigan. Again, she'd signed an affidavit saying that she was told to backdate ballots, ballots that should not have been counted. She was told to backdate them. She refused to do so. We'd covered her story. We'd talked about it. But then to have people actually come forward so that their fellow Americans can see them standing up and saying, look, this is what I observed. This is what happened. I think it brings it to light. Yeah. The other thing I think is really important is this video coming out of Georgia. A lot of you might have already seen this. This is some pretty explosive footage coming out of Georgia last night. It's surveillance camera footage that shows election officials clearing the election counting room and telling everybody that they're going to stop counting ballots, but then they move in ballots. It's almost unbelievable. Check out the video here.
At about 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out. So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses? Is the question.
So, David, this is incredible footage.
Yeah.
I mean, this is surveillance camera footage showing them they went and they told the press to leave.
Yep.
They told all of the election observers to leave. They said, we're going to stop counting. And then they kept counting.
Well, it's just phenomenal to see the video, number one, really amazing. And, you know, it's funny because we've had people testify to say, hey, there were some folks that had their hand in the cookie jar, and now we're seeing their hand in the cookie jar potentially. I mean, what in the world are these secret suitcases doing under a table?
Right.
I mean, this idea, Eric, that when you have video like this, it takes it to a whole nother level here.
Yes.
I mean, you wonder what all of this is going to mean going forward. I'm not going to suggest it's a smoking gun, but boy, I know there are a lot of people that say it is a smoking gun. It's pretty close to a smoking gun, and you wonder when the media is going to pay attention to all of this.
Yeah.
I wonder if it all starts with Brian Kemp, the governor down in Georgia, who, if he does call a special session of Congress, well, then all of a sudden the media has to cover that. You've got a sitting governor calling a special session of Congress on this. We'll see, but this is a big deal.
Well, look, there's that classic phrase, seeing is believing. Now,
right.
we might be seeing something that has some explanation, but nobody's offered it yet.
Well, not even Fulton County has offered it.
Not even Fulton
They put out a
County's-
statement, and they didn't. Yeah, they have no answers. They're going to investigate.
Right. I mean, when you look at this, you're seeing people in the dead of night literally pull out boxes that were hidden and then count ballots. It really, I think, highlights also how the mainstream media has been pushing this narrative. Baseless claims, no evidence, etc. Like, look, there are all of these statistical anomalies. There were all of these election irregularities. There were hundreds of affidavits that went out there. You have people personally signing, swearing to widespread fraud. But now you actually have video evidence that, again, we don't know. Maybe there's an explanation, but right now that's what it looks like.
Well, right. And what I've been saying on the water cooler every day is that it's not the Great Depression that we've heard about so much in history. It's now the Great Suppression by the media. They are suppressing this information because guess what, Eric? I mean, this is news. I mean, this isn't Pizzagate. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is actual news that is happening where in real time politicians, state lawmakers are reacting to evidence that's being presented. How do you not cover it? You might not agree with it.
Right.
You might think everybody's Bozo the Clown. You might, whatever the case, who cares? It's not your job to decide what is news and what's not when lawmakers are actually involved in the process.
Yeah, and you have
it.
a presidential election hanging in the balance.
Absolutely.
I mean, how uncurious can you be that they're wanting to look the other way instead of just figure out what happened there?
Go win a Pulitzer Prize. I mean, go do your job.
Right.
I mean, it is the story of, let me think, not the decade or the century, maybe the millennia, if this actually turns out to be true. And, well, we know a lot is out there, but, let's connect the
we
dots
got to dig
here.
into it.
Got to get into it. So anyhow, it has been, honestly, journalism, I believe, is dead in America.
Yeah.
And I think, it's forcing people out there, Americans, to choose sides. And that's a dangerous area where we're going, to the point where, are you for Team A or are you for Team B? Are you for the Biden team or are you for the Trump team?
Yeah.
Is it hashtag not my president for Trump or is it for Biden? It's a very dangerous place right now.
Now, speaking of the mainstream media, I want to get your reaction to some of these CNN clips that have been coming out. As you know, like Project Veritas and James O'Keefe released new tapes last night from the CNN morning senior staff call. Now, this time it's CNN President Jeff Zucker calling America's mayor Rudy Giuliani, quote, a useful idiot. This is what he had to say. We're going to play that tape for you now.
There's a term for what Rudy Giuliani is suspected of being, which is useful idiot. And then on the Rudy Giuliani story, this is a really important story. It gets tied to the Hunter Biden email disinformation campaign. That's the way we do this because it's all tied and part and parcel of one. I know Washington is working on putting that all together. From America's mayor to useful idiot.
The real craziness is the client, not the lawyers.
Of course.
And I wonder if maybe we ought to be pointing that out rather specifically. This gets back to Mary Trump even. This is his pathology. We're back to a sociopath. I'm not saying we should use the word sociopath, as we say, but what others who have dealt with him, Mattis, all of them, coming away and saying this man is crazy. That's part of that's the real story in some way.
Right. Well, I think you raised a good point about not just pawning it off on the crazy legal team, but the client is the one who's directing that crazy legal team.
Damn right.
Well, David, what do you make of this? What do you make of this?
I don't even know where to begin. It's like an orange man bad conference call is really what it is.
Right.
Look, where do I even begin? I've been in the business over 30 years. I've been in these editorial meetings at the local and national level.
Yes.
Look, that is not the way editorial morning conference calls are being held. You don't wax poetic about any sort of figure, whether it be a lawyer or a president or a politician. You don't do it. Now, do people around the table have differing opinions on how a story should be covered? Absolutely. But to actually go on a diatribe, to go on a soapbox in the middle of an editorial meeting, that just is not the standard. That is not how things are done. So, shame on Jeff Zucker and shame on all of them for in essence, agenda journalism. And Eric, I do believe we are in the age of the correspondent, and we've talked about this a little bit. What happened to correspondents?
Right.
And that's why the American people don't have any trust in the media anymore, because instead of a correspondent, you're a correspondent. What does that mean? It means you're a correspondent in a way by day, but at night you're going on, some of these Anderson Cooper shows and Chris Cuomo, and you're becoming this pundit who's giving their opinion. Opinion and facts have been totally meshed together to the point where the American people I shouldn't say can't figure it out. They figured it out, but they shouldn't have to go through hoops to figure out what's true and what's not.
Yeah, I do think they figured it out, because we now know that journalism is the least trusted profession in the country. It's below Congress. And I think that is gotten, and I think in many ways that's because you've seen this deterioration in people's trust since 2016. Right? Not that it was particularly high then, but you had years of the Russia collusion hoax. You had them ignoring the Hunter Biden story, and now I think people saw the kind of front what they put out, but now you're getting a look behind the scenes. This is how they're talking, name calling, talking about their agenda, and then they just go right there. Well, David, thanks so much for joining us today. Again, guys, that's David Brody, host of The Water Cooler. Check it here, Real America's Voice, every weekday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be back tomorrow night.